Hey guys, what is up, and welcome to my unboxing and review of the Nerf Zombiestrike Longshot. Included in the packaging is the blaster itself, a 12-round magazine, the scope, the priming handle, which comes in the little box part on the bottom, and 12 Zombiestrike darts, 6 of which were the front 6, have this syringe looking print on it where it even has little labels for the different amounts, and then 6 of which are your standard completely green Zombiestrike darts. This one didn't come with instructions, but I mean no one really reads them anyway, so that's not really important. To insert the priming rod into the blaster, you have to simply put it one side through the hole, and then you take the other cap and you're going to slide it on, and then you're just going to push down until you hear click. It's also important to note that if you plan on modifying the blaster right out of the package, don't really bother with putting on the priming handle, as you're going to have to take it off anyway to paint it or to open up the blaster itself. Now to go over the externals of the blaster, I thought that it would be good to do this by comparing it to the original blue Longshot, as that is what came first, and this is kind of just a remake of that. So starting with the front, you have the standard Nerf attachment where you can attach any of Hasbro's barrel extensions or accessories and whatnot. So that's pretty normal for a lot of Nerf blasters, and it's good to have in case you want to run like an extension with any other integrations or what have you. Moving back a little further, you have what used to be the bipod and is actually just what it looks like under the bipod. It's kind of like a shotgun style grip now, but as you can see on the original one, exactly the same under. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the original Longshot, that's just where the bipod used to be, and they didn't include it in this one for some reason. Not really a big problem. A lot of modders usually cut this off and integrate another blaster into there, or a different style grip, or you can even remove the bipod and do like a pump action style grip, which some other people have done. So I mean, not really necessary for me, but it might confuse some people who aren't familiar with the blaster. Up here, I just thought it would be funny to note that if you look very closely up here, there's the jam door indicators, and that was just kind of painted over with the Zombiestrike logo, again leading me to believe that this is either the same mold as the original Longshot or it's a slightly modified mold, but it's very similar either way. Moving back a little further, we have the magwell, which the clip release is on the other side. So generally it works out for most right-handed people because you can move your index finger to release the mag. However, for left-handed people it can be a little tricky. You have to do it with your other hand when you're pulling out the mag, which can be a little difficult. Moving back further, up here we have a standard tactical rail. It's the same as on the original Longshot. The jam door is still opaque and it's the same. Priming bar, same. The priming indicator is still on this blaster. When you're priming it, you can tell that the blaster is primed by the little changing from black to red right there. So that's kind of cool. Moving back, we have the handle. It's a good size. It feels exactly the same as the other Longshot. And then we have our extendable stock. While playing around with this blaster for a while, I did notice an increase, if I can lock it in place, I did notice an increase in stability compared to the original Longshot, where if you pushed on it with enough force, the stock would collapse on its own. So I haven't really had that problem with this blaster in particular yet. I don't know if that's a change in the design, or if it's just because it's new and it hasn't broken in yet. So I'm not really sure what to think about that. That's just my first impressions after playing with it for about an hour or two. So that's basically it. I mean, that covers the external features of the Longshot. Okay, now going over the pros and the cons of this particular blaster. I don't really have any major complaints. I mean, I was a huge fan of the Longshot when it originally came out, and I'm super stoked to have it back. The only really minor, and I preface that with a very minor, complaints I have would be it's kind of weird that the scope is a different color. It doesn't really match the blaster that well. The bipod isn't there, which might be a problem for some people. I really personally don't care. Instead of coming with 2 magazines, it only came with one 12-round, whereas the original Longshot came with 2 6-round magazines, which you would use one in the blaster and one in the extra magazine while in the stock. But again, that's not really a major complaint. A 12-round one is probably more useful anyway. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I can't really complain because this is one of my favorite blasters that's now back. So that's good, and it has a ton of modding potential. So going over the pros, again, it has a ton of modding potential. There are tons of guides for modifying the Longshot, so that's great. There's a lot of aftermarket parts that people have already made for the Longshot, and like kits and crazy other stuff, which is cool. So that's good. The ranges, I'll put a link in the video description to a range test, but it is getting similar ranges to the original Longshot, which is good, again, because the original Longshot could be modified pretty well. So overall, I'm extremely happy. I think it's definitely a worthwhile purchase. I got this one at Target for $35 US, so for that price, I mean, it's definitely worth, considering that if you're trying to buy a older Longshot, unless you found one at like a yard sale or something, they can go for a bit more online. So having ones that are readily available to people is pretty awesome again. So again, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.